Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Rich Perez welcoming you back into another dose of your weekly rundown. Of course, joined in with me always, Miami's own Kayson Davis. How you doing, Kay?
I'm doing good. It was a rough day for Miami yesterday, but we'll bounce back.
Rough day for Miami, rough weekend for Miami as a whole, man. We ain't got to get in. Well, we will get into it, but not too much. So when we last talked to you guys, we were getting ready to get into the NBA Finals. The NBA Finals have now come to a close. The Los Angeles Lakers have won their 17th championship, tying the Boston Celtics for most championships within the association. LeBron James wins number 4. He wins Finals MVP. Heat fall short in 6 games, like I thought would happen. I said 6 or 7. They fall in 6. It was looking like 5 at one point, but that man Jimmy Butler said no way. Got him to 6. And let's talk about it. I thought the Heat put up a valiant effort through this, kind of like I expected it to be. Eric Spoelstra did a pretty good job coaching for the most part. It's just that firepower that was in Los Angeles, the LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And, for one game, Contavious Caldwell-Pope. Who saw that coming? But, it was just a little too much for Miami to handle. One thing I noticed, one thing that's been consistent throughout this entire playoff run for Miami, Tyler Hero, who I think is going to be, an all-star in the future. Was a rookie, he was a 19, 20-year-old rookie and was taking shots like he had been in the league for years. The way he shoots with confidence is amazing. The Miami has a nice team put together. I think what we've said before and what is pretty much true is they're really just a piece away. We know they're going to go after Giannis. They're setting themselves up to go after Giannis. But aside from that, they've had that very good blend of, young guys with this veteran presence. We saw Jay Crowder after this series is over said that he would like to return to Miami. I know that would probably be a good look the way he played. I don't think I've seen Jay Crowder play this good level of basketball as I've seen, since he's been in Miami for his previous stops. And Jay Crowder's been pretty good for, all the stops that he's been in. But, you've got that. You've got Kendrick Nunn, who didn't really get too much playing time in the playoffs. So he was coming back from COVID. And he went and, looked like he got his rhythm back, averaged about 15 points in these finals. He was a difference maker. He was actually legit the difference maker in Miami in Game 5, the 14 points that he scored in that game. And then Jimmy Butler, of course, went toe-to-toe with LeBron James to force that Game 6. And, it is what it is. He just really didn't have enough in the tank because he had expended so much energy after that Game 5 performance.
Yeah, definitely. After Game 5, you seen how he was kind of walking off the podium. You knew that he was going to need a lot of rest and a lot of treatment kind of to be ready to bounce back a day later and kind of play LeBron again. I think like you said, I was saying the Lakers would probably win all the time. I decided to go with the Heat in the finals, kind of ride their hot wave there, kind of the underdog mentality. I think didn't like you said, they were kind of like underdogs already. So that, on top of Dragic going down and then Bam kind of getting hurt for a couple games there. And I think even when Bam came back, he still seemed like he was trying to kind of get his rhythm together. Game 5 kind of wasn't a great game for him. He was kind of losing the balls and things like that. So I think they already being the underdog with all those challenges, losing their leading scorer, things like that. Dragic did come and try to play Game 6, but it was kind of really like too late. So it was just like you said, the Lakers kind of just had too much with Bron, AD. They was able to slow AD down a little bit kind of in Game 3 or 4, but just with Bron and AD. And then I think Rondo deserves a lot of credit. We talked about here playoff Rondo. I kind of been talking about him since that Rockets series when he came back. I think he deserves a lot of credit. Game 6, he was a really difference maker. And I think throughout their whole playoff run, he's been just a big difference maker, kind of like that third person that they needed. And the thing about Rondo is that it's not even just that he's hitting threes and things like that. He also gets a lot of other people involved. So he kind of creates a little bit of he creates more problems for you because now he's getting other guys involved and things like that. So I think with all that together, like you said, Jimmy Butler did what he can to kind of try to bring them in. That Game 5 was kind of like a legendary game going back and forth there at the end. So it was just, like you said, in the end, they just kind of didn't have too much. they're gonna have a bright future from here, whether they can get someone there, and even if they kind of bring this team back and kind of add on to a little bit. I think with KD and them coming back, it might be a little more tougher to make it back to the finals. But I think it's a great season for them. Kind of a lot of people didn't expect them to get here, so great season for them. Value and effort in the finals, just like you said, they just didn't have enough.
And I mean, it'll be tough moving forward for them. With Doc Rivers, we gotta get into that too. Doc Rivers is the new head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers. But you got him and what the job he's now expected to do there and bringing them back to where they want to be. You got Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving coming back for the Brooklyn Nets. Milwaukee's going to try and run it back again. Toronto's going to try and run it back again. But I mean, you don't count out the Miami Heat. They're tough in your face. Jimmy Butler has won every single place he's been to. You know what I mean? So that's not a team I'm going to count out. Then the other thing too you got to commend the Miami Heat for all of these organizations with all of this turnover. Miami, even in times that they've missed the playoffs and everything, they've missed the playoffs. 3 out of the last 5 years. They have never turned anything over. Eric Spoelstra has been the head coach the entire time. Pat Riley is still there. Even in his older age, still running things. There hasn't been any executives turnover there at all. A couple of assistant coaches have gone on to take some other jobs, but the main guys have always been there. It's never been a panic thing for them, and it worked out. They went to the NBA Finals, so there's that, and I expect them to still be making some noise moving forward. One other thing I think we should probably get into was just the Finals MVP itself. I came away after those first 2 games thinking Anthony Davis is going to win it, honestly, and then he kind of really looked not so good in that game 3, and that's when I was just like, all right, LeBron is in this, and then obviously LeBron went on to have the performances that he went on to have. But LeBron James finals MVP. What you think?
I think it's kind of well deserved. I think, like you said, after the first 2 games and kind of how the whole playoffs was going for them, you kind of think that AD was probably going to be the one to get it. But I think, like you said, AD having that bad game 3, he kind of showed up. At the end of game 4, he hit that big 3 to kind of seal the win. But I think game 5 is kind of really I think game 4 is when it started going towards Bron. And I think game 5 is kind of when he kind of sealed it if they were going to get the win. He had 40. And I don't know if he had a triple-double, but he had 40 and close to a triple-double or something like that. And AD couldn't really make up after that game 3. And then game 5, he had a good game, but it wasn't like I said, game 5, Bron kind of just sealed it there. So I think after game 5, no matter how it ended up turning out, I think AD would have had to play tremendously the last game. And even I think that wouldn't have been enough. I think they would have to go into like a game 7 and AD have to play tremendously for him to kind of get it. I think game 5 kind of locked it up for Bron. So I'm not too upset with it. If it was earlier on in the playoffs and AD kept playing how he was playing, I think I would have been like they wanted to give it to Bron and keep the GOAT talk going. But I think Bron deserved this one.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you, man. It was a collective effort, though. Like I said, Kentavious Caldwell Pope, who saw that performance coming, so he's really the reason why the Lakers even won that game, because honestly everybody else wasn't kind of matching the effort. And that's originally what he was brought to LA to do. You mentioned Rondo earlier. He's another guy that definitely needs to get commended. He was the one guy that I had mentioned way back when talking about the Lakers title chances. I said he would be the X factor for this team moving forward, because we know how he gets down in the playoffs. I know he doesn't even like the playoff Rondo moniker, but you got called spade a spade. The man does his best work in the postseason. I want to give a shout out to him because he is now the first player in the modern NBA era to win a championship with the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Lakers. So kudos to that man.
Yeah, definitely shout out to him. I think the Heat kind of getting out of that zone after game 2 kind of is what slowed AD down. I think they started throwing a little more doubles at him and things like that. But Rondo, like you said, was really just the difference. He deserves a lot of credit. I think from the Rocket series on, since he came back, I think he was really just like you said. He doesn't like the playoff Rondo name, but he's definitely like playoff Rondo. He can't get away from it. He's like Paul George tried to give himself the name, but we got to give the name to Rondo. it's playoff Rondo.
But you don't give yourself a name. You know what I mean? That's probably what backfired on Paul George. But Rondo ain't call himself playoff anything. He just showed out and it was given to him. So
Yeah, definitely. That's probably why he doesn't even want the name. He probably like Paul George got the bad luck. So if I try to take it, bad luck might might come over to me. So he's probably like, I'm just gonna stay out of that. If that's what y'all want to call me. I guess that's it. Nothing I can do about that.
that's your name, Rondo. You're not going cold in the postseason like PG, man.
Yeah, hopefully not. It's gonna be interesting next year to see kind of how things play out. The Lakers got that championship experience and things like that. So I've seen some people say they could be the title favorites for like the next 5 years. So next year's
I
gonna
can
be
see
really
it.
interesting.
I can see it. The LeBron in his old age still isn't slowing down, man. That's the crazy part. And the other, what's crazy too? The Lakers have now opened up 3 decades with a title: 2000, 2010, now 2020. So it was also interesting. Like LeBron's path to this championship was really similar to Kobe's, knocking out Houston, then knocking out Denver, winning a championship in Orlando. So that was really cool to look at. But happy for the Lakers, man. Congratulations, well deserved. Can't wait to see him try and run it back pretty soon in the next coming months. We got free agency coming up. Real interested to see how that thing goes. I saw Brian Windhorst and Zach Lowe on the Hoop Collective podcast actually make some interesting points too, with the way like the salary cap is going and stuff like that. Some players who were expecting to get specific contracts, maybe those contracts won't really be there moving forward. So guys could sit here and say, well, all right, if I'm not going to get this big money like I thought I was going to get, I'm going to just go to LA and play with LeBron. Because, like, you look at this group of guys that played with the Los Angeles Lakers, there was some very good players. They looked like they were having some fun.
Yeah, definitely with everything. Actually, China broadcasted what I think like game 3 or 4 of the finals.
Game 5 was the first game that China has broadcasted since that whole debacle happened. So game 5 and 6 back in China. So it looks like things are starting to get a little bit back to normal.
Yeah. So if they can get China back, the loss maybe from this year, losing China and then everything that happened with COVID is definitely going to take a hit on the salary cap and things like that. So a lot of people probably aren't going to get the money that they expected. No one's probably going to know what the cap is looking like going forward. No one even knows what next year is looking like, if we're going to be able to get fans back and things like that. So that cap might have to drop a little bit more too. So it would be interesting. I don't know who's out there who would probably go over there, but someone might just go over there and be like, hey, play with Bron, get a chance to win a ring if I'm not going to have the same amount of money. But I don't know. It'd be interesting. I guess there's some people out there. They definitely could probably upgrade a couple positions and things like that. I think that could get a solid, definite third scorer, maybe to come off the bench. It would be something that we kind of talked about with Kuzma is supposed to be that, but I don't think he's kind of there yet. Rondo's always going to be Rondo, but he's not like a scorer, so it'd be interesting.
Yeah, most def, man. Kyle Kuzma's a champion, man. How's everybody feel about that?
I mean, my man Dion Waiters, Syracuse stand up. My man Dion Waiters out here, he got a ring too. So shout out Dion Waiters.
Yeah, most def, man. Once again, big ups to the Lakers for bringing number 17 in there. Big ups Jeannie Buss, the first female first female governor of a team to win a championship. So much respect to her. Doc Rivers, like we mentioned a little bit ago, is now the next head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers. This came about, not even 48 hours after he was let go by the Clippers. It's a well-deserved job. A guy with championship pedigree, a ton of playoff pedigree, from his time in Orlando to his time in Boston with the championship and the Big Three and the other playoff performances they had even before the Big Three was put together, to, the runs he had with the Clippers and Lob City, and then, this new group of guys that he had over there. But, the thing with this is getting it right with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, and that is getting Ben Simmons to knock down these consistent jumpers and making sure that Joel Embiid is taking his conditioning as seriously as possible. So I like the move because he's a guy. He's not just like some guy that's coming in that's, respected as an assistant who's taking a head coaching job. Doc Rivers is a champion. He's going to the Hall of Fame as a coach, and he covets all that respect that you should get. So I think he's going to do a good job here moving forward.
Yeah, definitely.
And I actually like him better in the East than I did in the West.
Yeah, definitely. I think he was a solid coach. I told you before that if he wanted a job, it'd definitely be there. I think he might have been the best coach on the market as soon as he was kind of let go, maybe Tyronn Lue and things like that. But I think the championship experience that he has, and I said that it was not that I said he should get fired from LA, and it's not that he was a bad coach. I just thought that his time there was kind of up. I think he had 7 years. He blew 2 3-1 leads with a chance to go to the conference finals. I just thought his time there is up. Sometimes you just need a fresh new start. So I think if Philly's a fresh start for him, he has Ben Simmons, like you said, he kind of got to get him to shoot some shots. And then Joel Embiid kind of dealing with his health and things like that. But he's dealt with Blake Griffin before. He's dealt with Kawhi before. So a couple of people who did handle their injuries kind of, in different ways. So he might have a little plan for Joel Embiid and maybe get on him a little bit. I don't think Doc's kind of scared to get in people's faces and things like that. So
you know that.
So I think it's solid hire. I think they needed that a championship coach in there and things like that. Someone who knows the ins and outs, knows X and O's and things like that. So it'd be interesting to see what he does with kind of his coaching staff over there. Tyronn Lue's in Houston right now, interviewing for the Houston job. And then Sam Cassell, someone who probably be looked at for the Houston job. So he might have to find 2 new assistants. So it'd be interesting. But I like him over there in the East. Like I think the East is open. I mean, think about it. Jimmy just goes back to the East. He makes it to the finals. Kawhi went to the East last year, makes it to the finals. So it'd be interesting. I think the East is kind of open.
I think the East is wide open. I think that's even like when it's all said and done and those seeds are in place for the next year's postseason. I think it's still like anybody's game, like 1 through 5, man. Honestly, when you look at the guys in, like I said, Toronto's still going to be tough. Miami's coming off a finals run. You got Giannis in Milwaukee running it back with those guys. They're still planning on making some moves in free agency, whether that be trade or signing some guys to get them over the top. We mentioned Brooklyn and Philly, so I think that's this regardless of seed, that's going to be anybody's game.
I think it'll look real bad on KD and Kyrie if they don't make it to the finals next year. Yes,
I don't like. I know what you're saying, but like I wouldn't think that it'd be that big of a deal if they didn't make the finals.
I think it's a huge hit on both of them if they don't make it to the finals. If you, like I just said, Jimmy goes East, he makes it to the finals. Kawhi goes East, he makes it to the finals. They got KD, they got Kyrie. Now, I think I seen Stephen A. on the First Take this week saying that, I guess he was saying like talent-wise, KD is up there with Bron because they were talking about like who's kind of on Bron's level and things like that. So if we're kind of putting KD up there and the second best player in the league and things like that, I think with Kyrie and you still got Karis LeVert and all those pieces over there that the Nets are at least my early favorite. And I think if they don't make it to the finals, it'll look real bad on them. If Jimmy Butler can go to the East and make it to the finals and Kawhi can go to the East and make it to the finals, KD and Kyrie coming East, they should be in the finals.
I hear what you're saying. I definitely hear what you're saying. I just think, like, while we're saying it's wide open, I think there's enough talent there. Like, say Ben Simmons takes the next step in his game. Are you going to kill the Brooklyn Nets if they lose to the Philadelphia 76ers? Ben Simmons at that point will be an all-world talent playing with Joel Embiid, who's the best big in the game. I'm putting it out there. And you would still kill them for that if they lost to those two.
If you are Kevin Durant, I guess he's coming off of an Achilles injury, but Kevin Durant teamed up with Kyrie should not be losing to 76ers with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. I have not seen it. Not unless – I guess it's still kind of early. Maybe – I was about to say maybe with Doc Rivers, if Doc Rivers comes and kind of really, like, makes that big of a difference. But even still, I don't think KD and Kyrie should be losing to nobody in the Eastern Conference.
I disagree, man. I disagree. But I digress.
KD's supposed to be the second best player in the league, in the world. Some people will consider him the first best player in the world. I guess after this, it'd be kind of hard to argue with him now after Brown winning his fourth. But before this year, people was putting him like second. I mean, put him first. If he's that, he's not. He should not be losing in the East. And I guess, like I say, he's coming off that Achilles injury, so no one knows how he's going to be when he comes back. But if KD is KD coming off this injury, the second best player, first best player in the world, he should not lose in the Eastern Conference.
Look, man, I hear what you're saying. I really do. But I think that the talent is there for the – you got – KD is coming off of the worst possible injury that you could have as a basketball player. Like, people's careers are usually over after you know, they have an Achilles injury. You know, so I actually think KD is going to come back, you know, close to what he was. I don't think he'll be the same because, like I said, it's that devastating of an injury. But I just think – that the East is good enough where they could, you know, not make the finals.
With KD,
I wouldn't kill them for it. I
would have to kill him. I guess we still have to see how, like, next year, maybe a little bit. But just right now, I can't see them losing. Like, if they go out to, if they go out to anybody, I just can't see them. If KD's going to come back and be KD, and he has Kyrie, I just can't. I got to knock him for not making it to the finals.
I'll tell you what. I will kill them if they lose to any team outside of Philadelphia and Milwaukee.
Nah. If Milwaukee comes back with this same roster, they better not lose to Milwaukee.
Milwaukee has been the best team in the league for 2 years now. They just have not got it done when it counts. But they have, and not only that, but we are going to start – I'm going to make it a point on this show. We're going to start putting some respect on Chris Middleton's name.
Sure.
I don't know. Like, you saw what he was able to do once Giannis was off the floor. He let you know I'm not just like some average all-star. Like, I can do some things here too.
Yes, but we're gonna need to see him do that with Giannis on the floor. I guess
that's fine.
Maybe he has more opportunities and things like that. But I just think, like I was just saying, Jimmy was able to come east and he took out the Bucks. Kawhi came east, took out the Bucks. KD cannot come east and lose to that same Bucks team that just lost to Jimmy and Kawhi. It's not gonna look good on him.
Would you really kill them if they lost to Philadelphia?
Philly's an interesting one because with Doc, but I still think they shouldn't lose to Philly right now. The chances that between now and the next year, which is going to be next season, which is going to be kind of faster than usual, for Ben Simmons to get that 3-pointer that we're all waiting for him to get, I don't think it's going to happen this year. Maybe in 2 years, if they lose to Philly, I'd be like, okay, next year they should not lose to Philly.
All right, man. Like, this is gonna be one of those we just gotta agree to disagree, and we'll revisit it once the season comes around. But hey, you know, it is what it is. Also, we're hoping Tobias Harris starts playing like he's paid to play, but that's not here nor there. Shout out to Tobias.
It's KD and it's Kyrie. It's not even just KD by himself. He has Kyrie.
The Wizards gonna be back too. Don't forget about them Washington Wizards. John Wall.
Yeah, they're with John Wall. They'll get back in the playoffs. They're going to be solid with John Wall and Bradley Beal, but I don't think they're going to be no championship team. But shout out to them. I seen the highlights. John Wall, welcome back after he's coming off of Achilles too, so that's going to be interesting to see with him. But I think with both of them, we've seen them in the playoffs. They always showed up big in the playoffs. They've been able to kind of knock a couple people off. But like I said, they're not a championship team though.
Mm-hmm. No, I feel you. Houston will heavily go after DeMarcus Cousins this offseason. Looks like they're going to get away a little bit from that small ball that, you know, they had so much success with this season. I kind of like it. I feel like whoever their next head coach is can play with, you know, the lineups and stuff like that he's going to put together. In Houston, you know, DeMarcus Cousins is a playmaking big. You know, you can play with lineups where, all right, we're going to play DeMarcus Cousins at the 1 for this specific set and set him up, you know, to, you know, throw it down to Russell who dominates in the paint, or, you know, kick it out to James in the perimeter. Anything. I feel like there's so many things you can do with DeMarcus Cousins in there. I think DeMarcus Cousins has shown us in spurts that he still can be, a key factor for you. And, the Houston Rockets, they need that big man presence, believe it or not. Well, not believe it or not, because they didn't make it out the second round, because that was one of the things that we had been talking about when they went to this small ball lineup.
Yeah, definitely. We talked about it on here a lot. I think they needed someone. The thing about DeMarcus Cousins is he allows them to go big and kind of still stay small. Like you said, you can play him at the one. He steps out and hits 3-pointers and things like that. If he's healthy, I think it's a great get. Like I said, the next like you said, the next coach is going to want to come in and he's going to want to have a big to play with. Let him decide if he wants to go small. And he's probably not going to do like all small. He probably a little small, a little big. And I was saying a couple times that they need to be not as predictable. Like with the Warriors, they said, the Warriors small ball lineup worked, but they didn't start off small. They was able to go small, go big. They was able to switch it up. So when you're not as predictable, I think it's just a lot better. So to consider him is it's good that they're showing that they're trying to maybe switch it up a little bit to be able to go small, go big, have someone that can help them stay small and stay big at the same time. So they're looking to switch it up a little bit. They're not going to come back and kind of try to play the same way. So that's great for them. I think it's a change that they need. And then it's just from here, it's going to depend on the coach, whatever coach they get in there. And then from there, the players and things like that. So I like it. I like with the direction they're going in and things like that. So that's kind of what I've been calling for.
Yeah, no. Excuse me. Completely agree. Completely agree. And I think Houston will get it right with this coaching search. I think there's kind of zeroed in on Ty Lue. I know Sam Cassell's in there. I've heard Jeff Van Gundy's in the mix. I think it's probably between one of those three, and I don't think you can go wrong with any of those three. I personally would like to see Sam Cassell or Van Gundy get that job. Nothing against Ty Lue. I just feel like it would be – I think, like I said, I don't think you can go wrong with either of the three. I just think it would be better for Houston to go with one of those two than Ty Lue, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I think you both of them have Houston ties, and you think about Jeff Van Gundy and Sam Cassell. So I think getting someone in there with Houston ties and someone that's kind of, someone that the Houston people can feel and things like that, kind of get that Houston feel back in there, I think that would be great for them.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's one team that I'm definitely excited to watch moving forward. I think those guys are going to be motivated, especially because, you had Russ and James were the highest scoring duo since Shaq and Kobe Bryant, and, some unfortunate circumstances with Russell Westbrook dealing with COVID, and then the high quad strain, was never really able to get to back to being himself. So that's a team I'm definitely going to be interested in watching moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. If Russ can get back to fully healthy for next season and things like that, I think they have a great shot. Like you said, switch it up a little bit and things like that. If you think about it, under those terrible circumstances that they were in, they lost to the Lakers 4-1, but they had a chance to win maybe game 2 or game 3, and maybe the series looks a little different. So you think with a fully healthy Westbrook, maybe a different team, a little change of philosophy, they can probably do something.
Yeah, 100%, man, 100%. I think the other thing, you get a guy in there that's going to really go at these. It's kind of similar to what I said when I was talking about Ty Lue possibly getting the Philly job. Somebody that's going to go in there and not be afraid to challenge these guys. We know Ty Lue is not afraid to challenge his stars. He went against LeBron, so I doubt that he would have any fear in saying something to Russ or James and in any other circumstance. So, I mean, putting it that way, it wouldn't be bad for him. I just think maybe one of those two, specifically more the Houston ties, and, Van Gundy's got some success as well, that, you would like one of those two in there. But like I said, they can't go wrong with any of the three.
Definitely, you can't go wrong with any of the three. Like you said, Tyronn Lue would be interesting, the way he can challenge guys. I think Russ kind of maybe hasn't had a coach that's really going to kind of get in his face and do things like that. So I think he'll be up for the challenge if that is the case, and maybe he can get I guess it'd be a lot to ask more out of Russell Westbrook, but I think maybe they can kind of get him under control a little more, and that's kind of what people have been calling for him for years now.
Yeah, man, it's definitely going to be interesting to see, especially these guys are starting to get to the backside of their careers, so we know they want championships, and you're going to have to play a certain way to do it. The late great Kobe Bryant said it himself. The way that they played wasn't built to win a championship, so they've got to change some things up, and it starts with what's going on up top.
Definitely starts what's going on. Like you said up top, I think it'll be interesting to see what Daryl Morey does because he wants to play a certain way with its analytics and things like that. So if he gets one of those coaches, it'll be interesting if he changing his ways a little bit, or is he trying to get the coach to change his way a little bit? Hopefully, it's maybe the former and things like that. So he changes his ways a little bit and switch it up a little bit. Like you said, Kobe said you can't really win like that. I mean, Kobe's not the end all be all when it comes to basketball, but I think the stats show that winning that way is not the best way.
But I mean, I think he of all people would know because he played that way. And when he played that way, he wasn't winning anything, and he changed some things up, and he won 2 more championships. So.
Yeah, definitely. He makes a valid point. I'm just saying, some people are going to be like, oh, well, just because Kobe said, so, but like I said, I think the stats show it anyway to back up Kobe's point.
Yeah, for sure, man. So I guess we got to get into football. I mean, you could take it away if you want.
I mean, the Giants kind of fooled us this week. It looked like they were going to come out with that victory against the Dallas Cowboys, but in Giants fashion, they ended up kind of blowing the game away. Shout out to Zach Prescott. I mean, everyone saw that injury. It was kind of crazy. Prayers up to him. His ankle kind of turned all the way around. I seen it for a quick second. I was like, I'm good. It's kind of messed up the situation because he didn't get to sign that long-term contract. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out with him. But the injury was just maybe one of the worst I've seen. So prayers are definitely up for him. You've seen a lot of people kind of went straight to their knees and started praying for him and things like that. So it's like crazy. For the people who didn't see it, I would say go take a quick look. But it's if you're skirmish or something, I wouldn't take a look at it. It's one of the crazy things. So all I can really say is like prayers up to him. You hope he has a speedy recovery, a healthy recovery, and you hope he still gets his money that he deserves.
Yeah, and Stephen Jones came out and said Dak is still very much a part of their future. So we'll see how things go from there. I definitely think he deserves to get paid. He's in this stage of his career. I feel like he's done more in this stage of his career than Tony Romo did at the same exact stage. Yet at one point in time, no, not at one point in time, Tony Romo is still the highest paid player for the Cowboys franchise, like in the history of the organization. So, you could say what you want about Dak Prescott. I certainly have my gripes with him as a quarterback. I don't think he's elite by any stretch of the means or anything like that. But I think he's a serviceable guy. He's very good and can be your franchise guy. So and that's what kind of sucks about the whole franchise tag thing. Shannon Sharp made some excellent points this morning when he talked about it. It's the organization kind of betting against you, and the Cowboys in that sense won. Because he got hurt, so they're not tied at this point in time. They're not tied to him long term. It was just this one specific year, and that's kind of the sucky thing about the NFL is that they have this in place where they can get away with it, and they can continuously franchise you until they can't anymore. You saw with Kirk Cousins when he was in Washington. He played under the franchise tag for what 4 years. So that's not the greatest. And I prayers out to Dak. The things that he's had to deal with within the last year alone with the death of his brother and, now this, it's, he's traveling down a very tough road. And I hope he comes back, pretty great from this. Even saying that as a Giants fan, you never want to wish injury on anybody or anything like that. So I hope he comes back from this fine and, can get back to where he wants to be. It's not going to be easy because, now they got Andy Dalton in there for the rest of the season. Andy Dalton will be a serviceable starter for the Dallas Cowboys. He's made it to a Pro Bowl back when he was with the Cincinnati Bengals. He can, play well for you as a starter. He's not your typical backup, if you know what I mean. So between that and, Dak wanting a long-term deal, it's going to be tricky moving forward for them. And it's also tough because if we remember back, they did offer Dak a long-term contract that he denied. So in one sense, you're like, man, this stinks for Dak because he's not under a long-term deal, no guarantees or anything like that. But in the other sense, you're like, while it stinks, you did kind of put yourself in this position when you didn't accept the original contract that they gave you or that they offered you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like you said, you don't want to wish no injury like that on no one, even like on your enemy or anything like that. So it's just unfortunate, like you said, like the point Shannon Sharpen made, that it's just like the way the NFL works is kind of just unfortunate. Now it's going to be interesting to see what they do because, like you said, they offered him a contract and they didn't want to pay him what he wanted. So now the injury's in place, so they could come and try to really lowball him because it's like his contract is going to be up after this season. So it's like, okay, we don't know how you're going to come back. So we don't want to – they can even try to shorten the deal and things like that. We'll give you another 1-year deal for who knows, the lowest we probably possibly can go. So they can try to lowball him now. So now they, like you said, they have the leverage. So they could be like, hey, we don't know how you're going to come back. We don't even know if you are going to come back. So they can kind of like – and then, like you said, if Eddie Dalton plays great, they might, hey, we still have him. It'll be like he's just gonna be. He's just in like an unfortunate situation, kind of all around. You hope the best for him and hope that maybe they still can kind of work something out. I know, like you said, who's that? The GM who came out and said that?
Stephen Jones, Jerry Jones' son. He's like the vice president over there.
Oh yeah. So I think it's easy for him to come out and say that now because it's like, yeah, he's our guy because we can probably pay him lower now. So you know what I mean, and to make it seem. So it's interesting. I hope, like I said, I hope he kind of gets his money and he. I guess first things first is that he has a speedy recovery and a healthy recovery.
Yeah, man, for sure. Definitely wishing the best for him moving forward. Yes. Wow, man, excuse me. I'm dying over here right now. Y'all saw me put my hands on my face, everything. When we first started talking about this. We're talking about the Giants. I am a distressed Giants fan. I'm tired of this losing. I can't even watch games in full anymore because it just hurts my soul so much. He said it looked like they fooled us. I don't know. You know what's crazy about the Giants? You want to know what's crazy about the Giants? The last couple of years we've said one of the biggest problems was the defense. You know what's not one of the biggest problems with the Giants right now? The defense. The offense, for some reason, just can't score. Yesterday, they scored because the Cowboys, just with or without Dak, really just aren't that good of a team. No disrespect. They're just not. So they were able to go out and do some things there, but lost, late in the game. And it's weird. So the top 10 rookies, they compiled a top 10 list for the rookies so far. There were 2 offensive tackles on that list. Andrew Thomas, who the Giants selected as the first tackle off the board, was not on that list. You had Mekhi Becton and Tristan Wirfs on that list.
Yeah. It's just like you said, I think we talked about it last week or the week before that. We kind of talked about the offensive line and things like that, and kind of how Gettleman just hasn't got the offensive line like together. It's just it's unfortunate to see. Like you said, they came out, they looked like they was able to score on it, whether it was the Cowboys and their team and their defense and things like that. But it's unfortunate. I think maybe this the silver line in the sand would be that maybe this really kind of gets Gettleman out of there this year, and he kind of starts that it's time. He starts to see that it's time to get a new GM in there and things like that because just hasn't been working out. But it's just unfortunate. Like you said, the defense has got better, but the offensive line just can't hold up, and it's kind of messed up to see because we really can't see Sam. I don't know. I forgot his name.
Jones?
Oh, Daniel Jones. Jesus Christ! I was thinking of Sam Darnold. Excuse me. Yeah, Daniel Jones. You can't really see Daniel Jones maybe build off what he kind of did last year and do things like that with the offensive line kind of not being there. So it's just unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you could say because they got game tape on him now, but he hasn't really been able to be as efficient and looked as good, this season than he has last. He really just hasn't looked like he's made those necessary steps moving forward. And I'm not going to, jump on the whole draft Trevor Lawrence thing if they have the number 1 pick. By the way, right now, the way things are looking, they have the number 1 pick. We'll see pretty soon how it goes as they start playing some teams that aren't so good moving forward. But, at this point right now, the Giants have the number 1 pick. I think you need to give Daniel Jones, just everybody calm down, take a second to breathe. and give Daniel Jones a little more time to kind of show what he can do. And, at the end of the season, we'll revisit that conversation. Because here's what you got to remember with quarterbacks. Some of them struggle. I know one of the things that people now, when the people that want to defend Daniel Jones have gone to the most, is they go to a stat comparison with him and Peyton Manning, and those numbers from yards, touchdowns, and interceptions, very similar. The other thing, when we talk about quarterbacks struggling, Phil Simms and Eli Manning, two of the greatest quarterbacks in Giants history. They struggled early in their careers as Giants quarterbacks. So let's take a step back, breathe a little bit, and see how things go moving forward. The offensive line still has to get addressed. We know this. You want Saquon Barkley back because he's a big part of your offense. It looks like you have a top wide receiver in Darius Slayton moving forward. We've been saying this since last year as he showed out as a rookie. You hope Sterling Shepard can come back and, just take it from there.
Yeah, definitely. But it's like, if you don't take a quarterback with that first pick, who do you think they'll probably go after? I know you say you got to kind of fix the offensive line, but is there offensive line player that's worth taking that high right now?
If they have the number one pick or like a top 5 pick, I would trade it. Because you can get especially if you have the number one pick, because somebody's going to want Trevor Lawrence. Or, if you have a top 5 pick, it's a quarterback's league and you got Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence coming out. Somebody's going to want those guys. There's going to be a premium on those picks for it. You can get a haul back. So if I'm them, I would definitely trade back, and then because you get a haul back and start making some moves there. But the other thing that's got to be said, you cannot let Dave Gettleman trade any draft capital or do any crazy moves while he's here. I think we have seen enough to say that this guy has to go. Whether you're going to come out and say he's retiring or just flat out say he's gone, we're moving on. He said that his main priority was addressing the offensive line, right? It's been 4 years. The offensive line is still one of the biggest issues here. I actually personally believe the Giants have gotten worse since he's been there than gotten better. There's been some guys in there that you're like, all right, I like him as a player, but overall the guys that he's gotten rid of, whether, letting them walk or trading them, it just hasn't looked good.
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't let him make anything or do anything if he's not going to be there long term. I think if you plan on kind of getting rid of him, it wouldn't make sense to let him make the draft pick or trade the draft pick or do anything like that, let him do anything. So if he's not going to be there long term, I think, like I said, it doesn't make sense to let him do anything. So I would kind of decide now, or am I going to have him back and do this or do that kind of before the trade deadline, before he kind of does any moves? Because it's like, if he's not going to be back, for him to make any moves kind of might just like mess up the future or anything like that, and kind of put the next GM maybe in a situation he doesn't want to be in.
Yeah, man, for sure. We'll see how things go. I mean, the Atlanta Falcons just fired, their head coach Dan Quinn, as well as their general manager. The Houston Texans got rid of Bill O'Brien. We've talked a ton about him in the past. I think Bill O'Brien's completely ruined the Texans team as far as I'm concerned. It was a mutiny from what I heard with, J.J. Watt, kind of saying, you got to get this guy out of here and everything. So that's 2 teams with, vacancies in the general manager department. And the Giants they have a leg up on the Giants in that search because they're already open to get somebody in there. So, I mean, don't really know what's going to go on with the Giants. I think if things continue to go on the path that they're on, you should look to make a change sooner than later.
Yeah, definitely. I don't. You think they'll do it mid-season? I think they'll probably try to wait until the end of the season to do it.
I think they'll wait.
To kind of get the retired thing in there, kind of we parted ways type of thing. I think they kind of do that mid-season and look more like a fire. So I think, unfortunately, we might just have to wait until the end of the year to kind of see that happen if it does happen.
Yeah, man, I think they'll wait. They got to get this right. You've got to get this. It's been an interesting thing with New York, too. Outside of the Yankees, who I don't even want to talk about because they just lost too, And, right now it looks like the Brooklyn Nets are going to do something here pretty soon. New York sports isn't a bad – I mean, the Islanders – and I don't really watch hockey too much, but I know the Islanders just went on a huge playoff run. The Rangers look like they're finally starting to get things together again. But, outside of really two, three teams, New York sports has been bad for a while, and it is tough being a New York fan. So,
Yep, definitely. Definitely. There's not even too much to say right now. Like I said, the Nets might be the only hope. They the only team that kind of seems like they have a championship roster in New York right now. So you hope KD comes back healthy and they can kind of get it together. But besides that, it's like you said, it's dark days in New York. Maybe New York, the Knicks can kind of start getting their turnaround together. I think they just hired a new GM and things like that. So maybe with some new things in place, they can kind of. I heard that they got a trade for CP in place right now. So maybe, the Knicks can kind of get it together too. But dark days in New York, you hope things turn around, hopefully when the year changes.
yeah, hopefully hopefully that turnaround happens like you said. Anyway, I want to get back to basketball before we get out of here. We mentioned earlier how the Lakers are the 2020 NBA champs. I think, specifically with LeBron and how this is his fourth title now, it's hard to kind of keep him off your Mount Rushmore with everything that he's been able to accomplish. Where do you rank this title among his four titles? For me, personally, I want to have it number 2 just because I still think coming back 3-1 against – at the time what was perceived as the greatest team ever. Not even with everything going on in this, nothing seems to trump that.
Yeah, I definitely feel you that. I think it might depend on what are all the things we're taking into consideration. Because this year has been a lot of different difficulties. He's older. There was time off in between and things like that. So they're in the bubble. I think all that has to kind of be taken into consideration. But competition-wise, I think this may be one of his weakest runs, maybe like competition-wise. So I guess all in all, I guess you kind of called me just off the top. All in all, I think because you would know a little more than me because you kind of watched all his 2 runs in Miami. I don't really remember who they played in the first round those years kind of in Miami. I think but everything being considered,
I wasn't even talking about runs. I'm just talking about the championship in general. I guess you could say with the run because like they had them having to do everything to get there with COVID and everything going on outside of basketball in the world and being in the bubble and stuff like that. But
yeah, I like you said, I definitely don't think it's better than that Golden State one, just coming back down 3-1 and things that they had to do there. I think that's probably will be number 1. To me, it's either 2 or 3, and I think I'd probably put it 2. I think that San Antonio Spurs series when they went 7, I think that one's kind of up there too. Just San Antonio, I don't know if a lot of people remember at the end of that game 6, they were wheeling the trophy to the court.
Yeah,
they thought the game. Yeah, they thought the game was over. So I think even though I guess he's not the one who. Ray Allen hit the big shot, but if you remember LeBron in that fourth quarter, LeBron had a crazy fourth quarter.
LeBron was balling in the fourth quarter and in overtime. It's just Ray Allen hit the shot to send it to OT. But LeBron, they won that game. They won. Obviously, Ray Allen was the reason why it kept going because they would have lost if he didn't sink that shot. But they did win that game because of LeBron James. Let's not have revisionist history here. He was doing his thing.
Yeah, definitely. He went off in that fourth quarter. I think that's when he lost his headband. That's the headband in the fourth quarter. So I think that one's up there too. I think that one should have a lot of consideration. But I guess all things considered, the year that he's in, the taking the time off, coming back in the bubble, COVID going on, all things considered, I'd probably put it second. But I wouldn't be mad at anyone that puts that San Antonio one a little above it.
Yeah, I hear that. I'd probably right now I got it 2016, 2020. 2013 and then 2012 pretty much go for it for me. But I wouldn't kill anybody that puts 2020 over 2016. I just think the things they had to overcome to win that title in 2016 is a little crazy, everything considered.
Yeah, I think because like the things that they kind of had to overcome this year was more maybe a little off the court things, his age, the COVID and everything that's going on. That's more so like the competition that they had to go against in that Golden State team coming back 3-1 is I think that's more with all things considered than kind of I guess COVID and stuff is unfortunate and a little time off, but I think competition wise that definitely trumps anything.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. Before we get out of here, I did have another one for you on the football end of things. MVP. Right now, I think there's about 3, 4 guys in this conversation, right? Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, and believe it or not, Josh Allen, quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. Aaron Rodgers is playing fantastic right now. It's like he really got a chip on his shoulders for them drafting Jordan Love with their first pick. He's doing his thing. Russell Wilson, I don't know if you watched last night. Russell Wilson, the Seattle Seahawks are winning games because Russell Wilson is out here doing his thing. Russell Wilson is the NFL's version of James Harden in the sense that he always puts up these amazing numbers, but when it comes to MVP voting, he always just falls short. And I really think this might be his year. I feel, and Josh Allen has been amazing this year as well. By the way, he's been an amazing runner. We get all that, but the arm strength that he's been displaying, and his accuracy is starting to look a lot better as well. And the Buffalo Bills are having an amazing season. They might win the division. He's been doing his thing, but I think between those two, man. And you know me, I'm an Aaron Rodgers stan, so I'll be rooting for him. But I wouldn't be mad if Russ wins it. I think Russ definitely deserves it too because, with all the years he's been falling short.
Yeah, definitely. I think it'll probably come down to who kind of maybe ends up with the better record. I guess if it's close, then I guess hopefully
they're all undefeated.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's probably because if let's say Seattle falls off and loses a couple games, and then the Packers kind of go on and maybe lose one game, I think that will put Aaron Rodgers a little above Russell Wilson. You know what I mean? If they both kind of keep it up at the level that they're at. So I think it'll come down to who ends up with the better record at the end of the season. Who will probably end up with the award. So it'll be interesting to keep going. Like you said, both of them are kind of playing out of their minds. Well, all of them are undefeated and things like that. I think right now Aaron Rodgers will probably have the lead. I think he'll probably have if you had to stop it now, I think it'll probably go to Aaron Rodgers. But I think Russell Wilson is a very, very, very close second. But
really,
yeah. Yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers.
Oh no! I would, like I said, I rooted for Aaron Rodgers to win it. He's been playing amazing, especially with the fact that he right now he doesn't have a Devontae Adams. What's the second wide receiver that they have? Lazard, who's actually having a very productive year as well. He ended up getting hurt too. So really, right now he's got Adam Jones Aaron Jones, and as who's his running back is like his only real viable weapon, and he's still finding ways to win. But I mean, Russell Wilson, he's been obviously Aaron Rodgers has been doing this for years, but Russell Wilson's been making guys better. With Tyler Lockett, was a smaller wide receiver. He's been doing things with them. They bring Greg Olsen in there. He's doing things with him as well. And Greg Olsen's up there age, man. So you know what? I really think this might be Russell Wilson's year. He just had a baby boy with his lovely wife Sierra, and we salute y'all for that. It's gonna be a good 2020 for Russell Wilson, man.
Yeah, definitely. I think I wouldn't be mad with either or. I think just right now, I think Aaron Rodgers probably has it over him just a little bit. You talked about kind of he's like Harden in a sense where people kind of don't vote for him as much. And I think Aaron Rodgers, his storyline right now may seem a little more interesting. What was all the talk about during the summer? How they didn't get him no help. They drafted his
replacement.
His replacement. How long until they replace him? Basically, it's we're just waiting for him to be replaced. And then he comes out and he's balling like this with maybe the most pressure on him. Because if he started sliding just a little bit, people would maybe be like, oh God, maybe it's time to, get rid of him. We talked about on here a lot.
Yeah, he ain't ready.
great quarterbacks don't end on with the team that they usually they play with for all their career. So it's like he starts sliding just a little bit. They're like, oh, well, his replacement is right behind you. Like your replacement is on you. So, you slip a little bit. I think that adds a little more pressure just like that. So for him to come out and just ball out of control, I think his storyline seems a little more interesting right now, maybe for the voters.
Yeah, I know. I hear what you're saying. Like I said, anybody that knows me knows I'm a huge Aaron Rodgers fan. Like, yeah, I've got some memorabilia on the way. You see that behind me. There's gonna be some Green Bay Packers stuff here soon. I got his jersey. Like, yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't be mad at it, man. I just think it might be Russ's year, man. The disrespect has to stop at one point.
Do they match up this year? Do they have a matchup this year?
I don't know. It's a good
If
question.
they do, I think that'd be
Both in the NFC, so I mean, that would actually be like a cool playoff matchup. Like I wouldn't mind, but that is something I want to see in like the NFC Championship. If like they can get that going, seeing those. Here, all right, like here's my storylines for this year that like I really want to see. NFC Championship, Packers, Seahawks, AFC Championship, Baltimore Ravens, Kansas City Chiefs, and I have before I go. I have to see Aaron Rodgers versus Patrick Mahomes. I have to. I have to see it. I just have to.
Yeah, well, if it works out like that, I mean, Patrick Mahomes versus Russell Wilson wouldn't be a bad
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't.
It wouldn't be a bad second to that. But if they match up during the regular season, I think that game will kind of maybe decide too, maybe who gets it, especially if they match up later on, kind of closer to the end of the season. I think kind of who wins that matchup would be another deciding factor, maybe how the voters decide to sway. So that'd be interesting. Really, I think it's kind of early to tell. Like I said, my early vote would just be Aaron Rodgers for the things that I said, but it can go either way. There's still a lot of games left.
Yeah, for sure, man. I guess the other thing we didn't. I keep adding stuff in here, but COVID is back, man. Well, it never left, but the COVID situation is getting real serious, especially within the NFL. Cam Newton contracted the virus. He was asymptomatic. But, they got a bunch of positive tests with the Tennessee Titans. They're just – this is like for over 2 weeks now with them. Now the NFL is moving games around. And I think this is something that we kind of talked about specifically, with in regards to the NFL season a while back when we knew that they were going to play and they said they weren't going to play in a bubble was could they finish – the season when we felt like there was going to be a spike once the environment started to get a little colder, and we're seeing they're already starting to have some struggles in there with COVID right now because it isn't just the Tennessee Titans. There's a couple teams in there that have been contracting the virus, and now they're maneuvering it a little bit by changing the schedule around. But it's real. So like Stephon Gilmore, the Patriots got it as well. So like. Can we get a full NFL season? I don't know.
Yeah, me either. I think I tweeted a little while ago, a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, maybe it's time for the NFL to kind of postpone their season. It's going to be interesting to see how many games that they continue to postpone and move around. I think there's 2 games on tonight right now, or there was a doubleheader earlier tonight. I think the Saints are playing now because one game had to be moved to Monday night. So it's going to be interesting because – like you said, we talked about on here a lot. We don't know if they're going to be able to get a season in without doing a kind of bubble situation and things like that. I don't know how much they're going to keep, like you said, moving games around and doing things like that before they kind of just postpone it all together. And then like some of them, like you said, being asymptomatic, it's like, I know they're doing contract tracing and things like that, but it might get to a point where like they don't catch it early enough where like maybe our whole team ends up getting it. And I think that's definitely going to start the calls for like, to postpone the whole season. So it's going to be interesting to see how long they try to go, but I think they're kind of close to we need to do something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, for sure. It's going to be something that we continue to monitor too, moving forward because it's not going to go away. They're going to try their best and everything, but it's not. I know like you have to get it under control in the sense that, getting guys to really follow the protocols and everything like that. Because the NFL does have protocols in place. I know, like, one of the things that they talked about that might be a thing is guys having unauthorized workouts, which, would explain why certain players and certain teams have outbreaks or have contracted the virus.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting because it can't be an asymptomatic. Like I don't exactly know exactly what their 100% protocols are, but like Do you think like what was he probably doing to kind of contract the virus? I know a lot of them know they have to be safe and do things like that, but it's like it could be just that one little thing. Like you kind of don't know how this thing is spreading, like exactly. So it's like it's kind of unfortunate, but it's like now unless people are going to be 100% kind of bubbled in by themselves, just going to practice and going home and doing things like that, it's going to be tough to see if they're going to be able to kind of get a whole season out of it. So I think people are trying to do the right thing. It might just be like unfortunate situations. Maybe one of their friends come around not knowing that they had it or something, someone that they trusted. But without it being like 100% bubble situation, it's going to maybe be hard to see if they can get a whole season in.
Yeah, man, for sure. So we'll keep eye on that. By the way, they don't. The Packers and the Seahawks do not match up in the regular season. But right now, currently, Seahawks best record in the NFC, second best record in the NFC. Well, not first and second best record, but right now, first place in the NFC is the NFC as a conference. First place Seahawks, second seed Green Bay Packers.
Had to be interesting kind of see. Did one of them have a bye yet or no?
No. The Seahawks do get to play both New York teams back to back though. So,
well, that's lucky for them. Yeah. So, like I said, it's going to depend on kind of who finishes above who. If it ends up being close, that'd be interesting. Hopefully, someone doesn't fall off. But no one ends up falling off, it might be one of the closest MVP races we had. So it'd be interesting.
I mean,
either one of them could get it.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, it wasn't close. Like I know Lamar ran away with it, but like it was a tight race, last year between Lamar and Russ as far as like the talk about it went, because like Russ was balling last year, man. That's what I mean. Like Russ just has been balling out of his mind the last couple of years. He's been the reason why Seattle's done, some good things. You know what, too? Like, it's been amazing to see his growth from, the LOB days, when it was more like, all right, we just want you to kind of be a game manager. You're going to pass the ball off to Marshawn Lynch, to, him legitimately being one of the best passers in the NFL today.
Yeah, definitely. It's like you said, the Legion of Boom days, and kind of he kind of maybe should have 2 Super Bowl rings right now. So yeah, to see his development,
I don't talk about that.
Seeing his development and just seeing how he's turned into this all world quarterback is kind of great to see. And like you said, I agree with you. Maybe they should start kind of putting some more respect on his name and kind of let him finally break through and get the MVP award.
Yeah, man, for sure. We will. We'll see. By the way, I was wrong. The Packers bye week was this. This is week 5. Packers just had their bye week, so they
Is that why Seattle's ahead of them?
Yeah, because Seattle's 5-0. The Packers are 4-0.
Yeah, definitely. So it's gonna see how that. We're gonna keep you guys up to date on how that turns out and kind of how the MVP race goes from here. But those are the early favorite. Those are the early favorite right now.
Go Pack, go! I got nothing to look forward to, man. I'm a Giants fan.
Nothing to look forward to. Well, we're praying for better days in New York, man. Matter of fact, you got the Bills. You got Buffalo.
It's Canada's team. Let me stop being very unprofessional right now. Yes, the Bills are very good, looking like they're going to win the AFC East, possibly. We'll see how things look with the Patriots once Cam Newton gets back in there. But
even though people don't be counting upstate, shout out Buffalo for putting on for New York right now, because downstate can't do it. Shout out Buffalo.
Right.
Right.
You got anything else for me? I'm pretty much good, man. You got anything else for me before we get out of here?
Nah, that's it. Stay safe out there, man. COVID's still here.
Definitely keep your masks on, man. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.